Hello, everyone. This is a bit of an unscheduled live because I'm here at the grand opening, and I promised yesterday on the live that I was going to answer the questions that I missed yesterday. So here we go. We're outside. We've got a gorgeous setting out here today. We have all this delicious food, flowers. We're having a party here. But I thought, well, let's get some questions in while we're at it. John and grab some that I didn't get to yesterday. Okay, what to use with help with wisdom teeth removal healing? This is something that I'll often tell parents. When you think about what has to happen when a wisdom tooth is removed, there's a great big hole in the jawbone now. And if there's a hole in the jawbone, if there's a hole anywhere in bone, it's going to need a lot of minerals. It's going to require a lot of minerals to heal that bone. Well, often we're taking out wisdom teeth when kids are teenagers, right? They're in their late teens and they're still growing. They're still growing other bones. They aren't eating their best. They aren't sleeping their best. A lot of times they're stressed out. It's the worst time to put 4 holes in somebody's head is when they're in this growth phase still. So you've got a super supplement after wisdom tooth removal. You have to make sure they're getting enough vitamin D3, vitamin K2, and lots, excuse me, my voice isn't working, but lots of broad spectrum minerals. That's what's going to enable bone to grow. The other trick that I've just learned recently is bamboo extract. Bamboo extract has something in it called silica, and silica actually helps the absorption or utilization of vitamin D3 and vitamin K2. So those are the things that I'm really recommending after wisdom tooth removal is lots of vitamin D3 and K2, probably 5,000 IUs a day is what I'd recommend of the D3. The K2 is about equal to that is about 500 micrograms of K2. So that should be daily, and then a good mineral supplement. Our tooth and bone formula is my favorite. Unfortunately, it's on back order right now. We're working with the manufacturer, but I also love humic and fulvic acid from Mother Earth Labs. Those are all great choices for that. You just need a lot of nutrients to be able to heal that jawbone. Okay, thoughts on a permanent lower retainers? Should we remove them to allow for cerebrospinal fluid respiration and improve the brain cycle? Okay, so whoever asked that question knew a lot of big words. That was very impressive. Let me explain what basically it's meaning or questioning. So retainers, let's talk about this actually, because I've not talked about this a lot. The concept that we need retention, that we need to actually hold teeth in place where we like them to be, tells us that they're not actually in a place that's stable with the muscles, with the lips and the tongue, and the muscles will always win. So you say, well, my teeth are going to move if I take the retainers off. Well, it means that they're not in the right place for the muscles. So that's the first key, is to figure out where they should be from a muscle standpoint, lips and tongue. And you might have to retrain the tongue to go up and forward, to swallow properly. So we recommend something called myofunctional therapy, which is actually tongue training, muscle training, so that the teeth can stay where they are. But let's say you already have a retainer. You already have something in the mouth that's holding the teeth in place. I have to tell you a very personal story. This was so interesting to me. So I had a retainer since I remember my dad was my orthodontist, and I made him take my braces off before 9th grade graduation, because in my school, 9th grade graduation was a big deal. So I made him take my braces off. So I was probably 14, maybe 15 at that time. And I had a retainer on from that point until about 5 years ago. What did I do 5 years ago? Well, I actually went and I had craniosacral therapy, where I had a therapist that was literally manipulating and moving the bones in my skull. And he was doing it to help alleviate some other issues and things going on. The day after I'd had that therapy done, my retainer popped loose. And I'd had this retainer for 30 some plus years. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together at first. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I guess my retainer came off. So I, smoothed off the cement spots and just went on my way. And then about a day or two later, I went, whoa, wait a minute. That just came off after I had my bones moved. Could it have been holding my bones in a place that wasn't very good for my skull, for my basically the neurologic function? And the answer is yes, it actually can. Because we moved the bones, it popped that retainer off. Again, like I said, I didn't put 2 and 2 together at the beginning. So this can actually hold things in an improper position. And it does affect sometimes the cerebral spinal fluid flow, or basically the flow of the liquid in the brain. So what do? Well, you can use something removable. That's always an option. So something that comes in and out. So it's not always on there and not always holding something in place. That's an option. Or obviously talk to an orthodontist and work on getting the thing. But then something removable if you haven't dealt with the muscles. Okay, fine. I'm worried that my computer is going to overheat here, so I'm going to turn out of the sun just a little bit. Okay, I'm trying to find someone local to me. Is a cone beam x-ray the same as a cone beam scan? The place I called could not tell me if they are the same thing. Yes. If they say cone beam, they have the right thing. So that's what you're looking for. After local anesthetic, I woke up with a brown streak on my other teeth nearby. Why did this happen overnight? That's very interesting. I would suspect less the anesthetic and more whatever the anesthetic was used for. So was the anesthetic used to numb an area to get a filling done? That kind of thing. Typically a brown streak on the teeth, if it's intrinsic to the tooth, actually part of the tooth structure itself, is going to go away just with toothbrushing, unless that's always been there. And maybe you're just looking now and you had never noticed it before, or maybe it's part of the filling material or whatever was done on the mouth. So anesthetic shouldn't actually affect the teeth in the area from a coloration standpoint. I know you've mentioned it before, but what is your recommendation for kids' gut health supplements until you make your own? Is it from Mother Earth Labs? What was the name? Okay, great question. So let's just talk through what the supplements are. First of all, the first supplement is if you do a baking soda test and you find out that the stomach acid is low, what do you take for the kiddo? Well, you do want something that has an acidic component. So one of the easiest things to do is lemon juice and water for a kiddo, or some apple cider vinegar. Now, how much are they going to drink? Maybe not a ton, especially the vinegar. So lemon juice is probably a starting point in the water. And that is what I would recommend, to try to add some acid along with the food, because that's the key, is you want acidic. You want more acid going on in the gut. The other thing you don't want to do is to alkalize that. So make sure you're not drinking any kind of alkaline water that will alkalize that gut. And then the rest are going to be probiotic and gut healing components. So you can use all of those. The supplements that we have actually work fine for a kiddo because you can dose them out. So you can open them up and they're probiotics, and you really can't overdose on probiotics. So you're going to dose it. The size of the capsules that we have now are for a 150 pound person. So if you have a 50-pound person, you're going to use a third of what's in that capsule. Phase 2, which is gut health, gut restored, those are going to be probiotics and helping to build things. So use a third of them. Use less of them and just add them to a meal, add them to a soup, add them to a drink, add them to whatever, and you're going to be able to get that in. The third version, or the third step, which is the gut well, can absolutely be used for kiddos. So again, 150 pounds is for a scoop. I would recommend the gut well powder. So you're just going to use, a quarter of the scoop, and it is actually delicious. You're going to be able to put it in a drink, no problem. So the one that really you can't dose out is the HCl Digest. It literally is acid, and you can't really open those capsules and take them because they're going to burn. So you're going to just need to add an acidic component in addition. So that, my favorite would be lemon juice for a kiddo, and just have it in some water, have it in a drink, and that's going to acidify the gut some. And then the other ones are fine to use for children. Okay, I have a problem with the wisdom tooth. How can I treat it? Well, the question is, what is the problem with the wisdom tooth? I don't really know the answer to this, but let's talk about. Often people will say, well, do I need to get my wisdom teeth out? And what kind of problem would indicate that I need to get my wisdom tooth out? So the first thing is if there's room in the mouth, you don't need to get the teeth out. That's the key, is if there's room in the mouth, we let them stay there, we leave them be, and we look at it in that cone beam CT scan. Often you can see it in a traditional dental X-ray as well on the head. So look in a Panorex or cone beam CT scan, see if there's room in the mouth. And if there is, then they're good to stay there. Now, sometimes they're difficult to clean. So some of the tricks that I do with wisdom teeth is I will use braided or woven floss, which is thicker, and I will actually kind of push it over the back teeth and down behind that wisdom tooth, and then use it like you'd use a towel on your back to dry it off. So you're going to use it like this, and you're going to kind of just wiggle it all the way down as far as it'll go into that gum, because that's often the problem with the wisdom tooth, is you can't clean it adequately. There's kind of some tissue hanging over it. You can't clean it adequately. So use that woven floss, or even some yarn, or something thicker to go over the backside of that. Clean it really, really well, and make sure you're keeping them clean. Otherwise, you're going to get tooth decay on those. So those are the most common problems with wisdom teeth. If they have to come out, they have come out with a denture implant. What do you think? So there are implants that can hold dentures in place. And this has been out for a long time. Actually, for 3 years, I did just exactly that. I did implants that held dentures in place. The problem with it is that you always there's never a replacement for a tooth exactly. Like nothing's ever as good as the tooth that came out. So if you're looking at dentures, obviously your teeth are in a in a place where it's not savable or things are not going to turn around for you. So that's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that. If people all the time tell me, though, is it just time for dentures? Is it just time to take everything out? And I say no, unless it really is. No, it's not, because you're never going to replace a tooth with anything nearly as functional as your previous tooth. So we always recommend keeping the teeth in as long as possible and keeping them healthy as long as possible. If you have to replace them, I actually prefer something called a snapped in implant, where we'll put a couple of implants in and then we'll put snaps on the underside of the denture and they snap in place. Why do I prefer that over these teeth in a day, or what are called all on fours? Because you can clean them. You can snap the denture back out. You can clean the dental implants really well. Now, sometimes people don't like anything that snaps in and out. I get it, but I've seen so many issues with these all on four ideas. Why? Because let's say you can't clean very well around one of them and you end up losing one of those dental implants. Well, the entire thing was built to the 4 implants or the 6 implants. If you lose one, you're starting all over on the entire thing. So this is a big deal, and you need to know this ahead of time before going in. And like I said, this is all I did for 3 years, so I'm very, very familiar with that. Sorry if my hair is looking a little weird. You're just going to have to deal with that. It's a little windy right now, which actually makes it cooler, so I'm appreciating the wind. But you need to know going in what the risks are and what the success rate is over a long term. So they can tell you, yes, we have great success rate, 5 years from now, but what is the success rate 15 years from now? So that's one thing you need to make sure of as well. Okay, we're going to do one more, and I'm probably So is $500 a normal fee for a cone beam scan? We actually just kind of pull it into our own fees, our new patient fees, when we do that at our office. So we don't charge the full, 500, but that's not out of the ordinary fee for something like that, to have a $500 fee. So definitely that is not out of the ordinary. Like I said, we just bulk it all into our exam fee, and a lot of offices will do that as well. They'll just kind of combine it into their exam fee. Okay, so we're going to jump on here. If I get another minute, I'll jump back on and we'll do this again. Thank you so much for joining, and I'm just going to see if I can get through a bunch of these questions today.